me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
The learning lesson there for the young professionals who would be listening to this is don't take that for granted. Like, that is the why. That's like the really cool part of your job, and it never gets uncool. You know, going out and watching a kid play their first t-ball game. Like, there's all these firsts. There's like kind of these evolutions of watching these kids, you know, become from swim lessons up to all of a sudden, you know, now they're swimming for a high school team. And, you know, still friends, the lifeguards of the supervisors that we have here that they've watched grow up. It's a really cool part of what we do.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Today, we're exploring the impressive Parks and Recreation handled by Adam Blackmore in Louisville, Colorado. Louisville, a community of about 20,000, manages 2,000 acres of open space, which is nearly 40% of the city's landmass, dedicated to natural resource preservation, outdoor recreation, and an extensive trail system. They also boast 37 parks, 4 times the number typical for a community their size. Under Adam's leadership, the department runs a world-class recreation center, summer camps, seasonal pools, and a bustling sports complex. This showcases a department that consistently elevates and honors the Parks and Rec community. Stay tuned. All right, Craig LeBlanc here with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. We have a great guest, Adam Blackmore from, is it pronounced Louisville? Louisville?
Louisville. Yeah.
Louisville. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I went to school at University of Kentucky in Lexington, but we had a lot of friends from Louisville. I forget how they pronounce it.
Yeah. I don't even know if people in Louisville know exactly how to pronounce it.
They just kind of throw something out there. Hopefully it sticks.
Yeah.
All right, we'll play a little promotion of the show, what we're trying to accomplish with the media company, and then we'll be right back with Adam. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co. LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day. All right, so back with Adam, who has been a career veteran, 19 years in this industry, 5 years as director. So how's your week treating you so far, Adam?
So far, so good. We're obviously hot and heavy into getting close to middle of summertime. With how early school goes back, we may already be halfway through summer, but we're hanging in there. So far, so good this week. You got some good summer programs going? Summer camps?
We
do. Yeah. So Louisville's a relatively small community of about 20,000. And I like to think that we just offer the gamut of all the programs you would get in a bigger city. Got a summer camp, keeping my door closed here out in our rec center, going crazy out there. It's definitely loud time around the rec center as those kids are enjoying the camps and seasonal pools are in full effect. We just got done with one of the biggest softball tournaments in the country. Comes to the Front Range, wrapped up over the weekend, and our sports complex was hopping. So all kinds of exciting stuff happening right now.
Man, you look like you've got the official Parks and Rec director office with the cinder blocks and the paintings in the background and the green 1970s chair. Is that?
Yeah. It's a feng shui I was going for. You know, I had it super modern and decided when I moved in here, this just isn't going to cut it. Let's get this drywall out and get some concrete in, and
that's it.
Yeah, that's right. Some kids paintings in the back and keeping it fresh. That's
like 90% of Parks and Rec directors' life. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
One cubicle off of the community center with screaming kids in the background.
That's right. Yeah, and some of these the paintings behind me, they're a mix of my kids and my admin assistant's kids and kids in camp, and you never know when you're going to get the next Picasso to hand you a little drawing of appreciation. So it's all good.
Oh, that's it. Those are timeless, and they're never ending. You know,
but they all somehow look the same. So I don't know how that works. But
yeah, how does that work? We all paint the same stuff when we're 5.
That's right. Yep.
We've got tree trunks that are like, you know, red oaks with like a little bush on top.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. Which is amazing that it's still the same way that I draw today at 43 or whatever it is.
I have not improved either.
That's still the same style. So more power to them.
Right. So tell us a little bit about how you got into Parks and Rec. Give us maybe even a backstory as far as who you were as a kid in high school, you know, what kind of, and maybe speaking to some of those high school and college kids that may not see themselves in Parks and Rec, but they can kind of see themselves as a similar high schooler that you were.
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate that question. You know, I like to think that I've got a relatively unique backstory on how I got to where I am. I grew up in a little town called Cairo, Missouri. Similar to Louisville, it's spelled like Cairo. So you only know if you know that it's actually Cairo. Little 300-person town, middle of the cornfield, north central Missouri, about 30 minutes north of Columbia, if you're familiar with the state. And graduating class of 19, just tremendously intelligent individuals. I didn't quite cut the top 50% with my grades, but you know, I was definitely probably top 10. I think I was right there on the cusp of making it. But anyway, enough of that. I was an athlete in high school. You know, loved small town life. The big city next to us has 10,000 people. And
what sports did you play?
I was a golf, baseball, basketball guy. Golf more recreational. I wanted to play it in high school, and it always conflicted with the other two sports. The school wasn't big enough to have football. So we were envious of the towns next to us that got to play football. But 2 seasons of baseball, played basketball, and you know that was the primary focus coming up through high school, and that was my avenue into college. And so it's one of those kind of towns where it's not too often that people leave. It's you know, a great place to raise a family, and it's a small town feel. And I left and went to play baseball in college, played a couple of years of junior college with a general studies associate's degree, whatever I had to do just to get through while I could keep playing. And didn't know what I was going to do after that. And so I had to make a decision. I knew that I probably wasn't going to be playing baseball anymore after those 2 years. And my mom, of all people, found this degree at Missouri Western State College at the time. They've since transitioned to university, a Division II school in St. Joseph, Missouri, and it was recreation administration. And she's like, "Did you know you can make Parks and Recreation a job?" And I knew of Parks and Rec. Obviously, I grew up in Parks and Rec and using all the services, and you know, getting the sponsored shirts and playing t-ball all the way through. And you know, I knew what they did, but it sounded appealing, and so I ended up going to school for my undergraduate degree at Missouri Western, and got done with that. Still didn't know what I want to do. So what do? When you don't know what you want to do, you stay in school.
That's it.
That's right. So
poster child.
I did. So I ended up stumbled into a great master's in sports management program at Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is a lovely town. Great program. Really enjoyed my time there, and ended up posting up right outside of Indianapolis, Plainfield, Indiana. And I had no intention of staying in Parks and Rec. To be honest, I was going to go sports marketing, get into collegiate athletics, home of collegiate athletics being in Indianapolis, and go down that road. Had to do an internship to finish my master's, and the only place I could get a paid internship was $8.25 an hour working for Plainfield, Indiana Parks and Recreation, and an internship program they had just created. I was the first intern.
Is that internship program still going, or was
It,
it like?
yeah, it was. It was last time I checked, about 5-6 years
wow.
ago. It was still going strong, and they did a great job. I'll forever be grateful for that program.
It's one semester, or were you
Yeah,
there?
yeah. It was supposed to be one semester. It was a spring semester. It was with their aquatics group, so they needed an intern to come in and do some data compilation and make some case advocacy for additional resources and that kind of stuff. So it was a cool project. But then when I got there, I realized my boss at the time, that I'll be grateful for, loved and hated the decision that he forced me into being a lifeguard. He's like, "You got to work in aquatics. You're gonna be a lifeguard." And I can swim in a lake and paddle around and have a good time with anybody else, but I'd never thought about that type of swimming, and so wasn't very good at it. But he stuck by me through the whole thing. It took me a few days longer than some, but got through the lifeguard training program and ended up staying on for the summer, overseeing some of the part-time lifeguard staff and working my way into a full-time position that they created so that I could stay with them. So all of a sudden I was an aquatics guy, and that was not part of the plan, but definitely enjoyed my time doing that for about 3 years in Plainfield before I got into water park and hotel world.
Now you were what, like 22, 23, that age?
Yeah, that would have been 23.
23.
So,
and so what was the kind of big takeaways from that semester of working in aquatics for Parks and Rec department? Or there's
a few things with that actually. First off, you start to realize that it can be a career, and that you see your supervisor hierarchy, and you see Parks and Rec directors, and you see the interaction with elected officials. You learn how communities actually work. I think it's kind of an ongoing theme with the public sector is, nobody knows exactly how that sausage is made to get the things that we all have every day. And the communities that we live in. But, some of the takeaways were, first and foremost, that, teenagers, especially teenage employees, a lot of times, any kind of stereotype about them as employees is typically incredibly accurate. They were very hardworking, very diligent, eager to please, eager to learn, kind of a group. And obviously being fresh out of grad school, they're relatively close to me in age, and it's incredibly respectful. And I don't think that's unique to the middle of Indiana. I think that a lot of times our part-time entry-level workforce coming into our profession, especially, kind of either gets a bad rap, or they, kind of get given the lesser than jobs. But in reality, a lot of them are really, especially with this generation coming up now, like they're really eager to be a part of something bigger. And that was, my supervisor at the time, Nate Thorne, who's now a bigwig in Plainfield. He's worked his way up the chain there. He did a great job of cultivating that kind of family culture, family mentality. And so I started to learn that you could be a part of something where you really feel that value and appreciation in our profession. And so that was a takeaway. The other takeaway was, especially with aquatics, is how much they touch all aspects of a department. That's kind of, there's a few different divisions I've learned as I've worked my way up the chain, between sports or aquatics, especially, that once you've kind of mastered that area, you're kind of set to go to other areas. Not a ton of people are begging to go, be the pool supervisor or get into lifeguard training. And so if you can get through that kind of part of it, it's kind of a nice segue into other parts of what we do and other areas of our departments. And so those are the immediate takeaways. Working with the public was another thing I was unfamiliar with, and learning how to be a public servant, and trying to find solutions to people's concerns. All those kind of things were great learning lessons as an early adult. What
was it like learning, working in the public sector? Like you said, working with the public, that can be kind of a shocker at first. What were some of your experiences there?
Yeah, I think it's a dangerous question, but I think what I learned is that there's no one size fits all. You can't think that you're going to please everyone. You never know what the day is going to bring. We had I remember one of my first days of kind of being on my own. For example, we had somebody, an elderly person who got lost and made a wrong turn and somehow ended up on our trail system in their car, trying to desperately get out of the trail system. It was right by the outdoor water park that we had. And, it ended up fine. It was all good. But, that was my first kind of like on your own. Oh crap, you better go figure this out, kind of a public sector thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what I've learned about the public is you really have to be okay with an ever shifting kind of priority and focus, because it's all who you're talking to at the time. And everybody has a different idea of what they want to get out of their local government services. And so, I think that was, outside of the quirky stories and that kind of stuff, I also learned working with the public, the value in, a kid's smiling face the first time they have the guts to go down the water slide, or go off the diving board and they're able to swim to the side on their own and, get that kind of like hooked for life and Parks and Rec kind of thing. And seeing the parents who really, we hear a lot of horror stories about working with the public, or the people that are, I think it's a very small minority of people that give you some grief. The overarching majority are just so grateful to have what they have and to be able to utilize what, our departments throughout the country are able to do. So mostly, 99% incredibly positive, and it kept, obviously I'm still here almost 20 years later. So
as soon as you said that, I remembered when I was a child, when I was first learning how to swim, there was a line of kids diving off the diving board, and it was my first time ever, and I chickened out, and eventually my swim coach coaxed me off the diving board. It was first time deep in. I thought I was going to 12 feet. Just seemed like an eternity down there, but I remember that, and it's a great first experience.
Yeah, and I think it's the learning lesson there for the young professionals who would be listening to this is don't take that for granted. Like, that is the why. That's like the really cool part of your job, and it never gets uncool. It's going out and watching a kid play the first t-ball game. Like, there's all these first, and there's like kind of these evolutions of watching these kids, become from swim lessons up to all of a sudden, now they're swimming for a high school team, and still friends with the lifeguards of the supervisors that we have here that they've watched grow up. It's really cool part of what we do.
Yeah, it really is. And, the shout out to Peter Cosmiano over in Jasper, Alabama. He came on the show early on and was like, we are in charge of first.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love it. Yeah.
First everything. A lot of things there. So that definitely is a strong why. And like you said, it never gets old.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to remember that's such a good point, that we're also, what I'm learning as I get older and deal with my own kids, is we're also in charge of the first time that parents put their kids through their first.
Right.
So it's, that's such a, like, we're providing the field that their kids, going out for their first softball game or whatever. And that's a big deal for a parent to find a kid in swim lessons or whatever, is they've worked, or we have a state licensed preschool here with our summer camp program and all these other things. So also working through those parents as they get to experience their first is a pretty cool aspect of what we do.
Yeah, you really haven't lived until you coached a team of 5-year-olds baseball first time, trying to keep them on, or soccer.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I did fourth grade basketball. I got kind of coerced into doing that a couple of years ago, and even at that age, it's just running chaos, just constant. Like,
yeah,
it's wild, but kids are great.
I love soccer. They all just kind of a little mob around the ball.
That's right. And every parent's yelling the exact same thing for all eternity. They're saying the same advice, whatever else. Nothing ever changes. Like, these kids don't care. They just want to run. They just want to be crazy. And that's I wish some more adults had a little bit lack of that discipline to just kind of go out and have a good time. So that's
it. One of our greatest coaches that came on our Youth Sports Mastery show, we asked him the question, how do you know if you're being successful as a coach? And he's like, if 70% of your team was on the team last year, you're doing a good job.
That's right.
You're having a good time.
That's right. Yeah,
and that's more important than I guess winning, is just the kids are having fun.
Yeah. Amen.
All right, so you run what, 2,000 acres of open space, 40% of the land, and you have quite a large, like 56 employees full times, 150 part times. That seems like
Mhm.
a large for 20,000 people.
Yeah, yeah.
You almost take Parks and Rec serious over there in
Well, oh my gosh, yeah, it's an incredibly broad, very service-minded, well-appreciated department, especially as a commissioner for a community of this size. It's there's the open space component, which is a little bit unique, more for these western states and Colorado, especially. That terminology kind of gets wrapped into parkland a lot of times. It's just synonymous. But yeah, our open space is more of natural resource preservation, outdoor recreation, trails, that kind of environment type of focus. And it's incredibly popular in our community. It's incredibly valued. There's a kind of a constant desire to explore opportunities to even enhance or expand what we have.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right. We've got a good sized staff. We have 37 parks, which based on NRPA metrics is 4 times as many parks as a community our size would typically have. And, we have a small but mighty parks team of, about 15 full-time employees that manage that and, do a great job day in and day out of really having a high level of service that we provide through those. And I mentioned, sitting in our world-class recreation center here. We did about a $30 million bond to do an expansion in 2018 that the community approved. And it's just, I can't explain it until you're here, but it is phenomenal. And it's the envy of a lot of bigger towns than ours in the area. And the community really does value. They come out too. They don't just put the money towards it. Like, we are pumping every day and always looking to expand our programs and our services. So yeah, heck of a department. Wonderful team, wonderful support from our community and our elected officials.
Yeah, and it seems like Colorado as a state and the culture of the people that live in Colorado are super outdoorsy and support, all things Parks and Rec. Where do you think that just comes from? Aside from all the gorgeous scenery, I don't know what part of Colorado are you in?
Yeah, yeah. So we are just east of Boulder, and
Oh, yeah.
so if you feed in every stereotype you would have about people in Boulder, they are true. They are outdoors to the core, and so I think that the scenery helps, but I also think the fact that for decades and decades, the elected officials or the city managers or the Parks and Recreation leadership have advocated for making sure that people that are interested in that kind of thing have all the services they could hope for. And
Mhm.
Louisville is no different than that. But yeah, the Front Range, which is basically the entire east side of the Rocky Mountains, Fort Collins down past Denver, every community's in one form or fashion the same as it relates to their passion for the outdoors. And so, whether that's biking or recreational programs or hiking, just being out in nature, a lot of environmentally conscious, kind of conservation minded type of people that are drawn to here. Fort Collins has a wonderful um, a collegiate program that feeds into a lot of that type of ecological mindset, and come down to the Front Range and kind of put that expertise out here. So it also doesn't hurt that it's sunny here. 300 days out of the year. It's one of the sunniest
Yeah.
places in the country, and so there's plenty of opportunity and an abundance of options for
Yeah.
enthusiasts around here for sure.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that has a cattle ranch on the Front Range, and for those not familiar with the Front Range, explain that to the rest of the planet that has not been to Colorado.
Yeah, so I'm also still learning. I've been here for 6 years, so if any Colorado native, which natives are very serious about being natives out here, wants
Yes.
shoot me a note. But the gist is it's intended to be just a geographic area between basically the primary highway going north and south of the state, that's I-25,
Mhm.
and the Rocky Mountains, and then between there is the foothills and called the Flatirons, primarily up in my neck of the woods here, and it's kind of, I'd call them the mountains before the mountains.
Mhm.
If you're coming into town, you're driving west, they'd be the green mountains you see before the white and gray mountains.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's north to south all along the range. Fort Collins probably doesn't want to be considered the Front Range. They probably want to separate themselves from that. But a little bit north of where I am, all the way down south, headed towards Colorado Springs, as far as your definition wants to give you. But it's primarily related to Denver and metros north and south, and makes up that land area.
Yeah, and for those that haven't driven through East Colorado, it's as flat as a pancake, and then all of a sudden the Rocky Mountains just explode out of it and into your
Yeah.
territory.
Oh, it's so wild, because that's what, not to get off on a tangent, but I have a lot of family that when I was growing up, extended family, we'd come out here for vacation in Lamar, Colorado, which is far east, kind of southeast part of the state, and it is just flat as flat can be, and dry and tumbleweeds and everything you think of from
mills in every direction.
Yeah, it's like some old John Wayne Western anywhere you look, and,
Yeah.
and lots of cowboys and cattle ranching and stuff like that. And yeah, all of a sudden you cross this threshold that would get you into the Front Range, and it's just mountains and green and rivers and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, and it's what's your elevation out there?
Well, we're higher than Denver. So Denver's obviously 5,280 mile high city. We're a little higher than that. And the further north you go, the further up you go. We spend a lot of time in Laramie, Wyoming, just a couple hour drive from here, and it's over 7,000 feet up there. So
yeah,
you gotta be careful. A lot of healthy lungs. That's why you get a lot of Olympic trainers out here, and a lot of cardiovascular trainers, and you gotta have some good lungs to be able to make it through out here if you're doing any kind of cardio exercise.
Yeah, we're sitting head and heels above New Orleans, which is like
is that 4.5 feet? Is that
6 foot under sea level?
Mm-hmm.
They're in a bowl, and but we're way above them at I think about 100 feet above sea level.
Nice.
So I remember every time I go snowboarding over there, it takes me like a 2 or 3 days to just be able to breathe.
Oh, it's wild
without winding myself.
Yeah.
So tell us about this 2,000 acres of open space that is like 40% of the land mass.
Yeah. Depending on who you ask for what calculation, it's approximately 40% of what would be considered city limits, the land area inside of our city limits. It's we directly manage about 800 of those 2,000 acres, and then we've got a great partnership with a neighboring community, Lafayette and Superior, and then with our county here, we're in Boulder County, Colorado, that we have some level of joint ownership over the next 1,200 acres. But variety of uses it's incredibly popular. I'm yet to go by a trail that doesn't have somebody on it, no matter what time you look down it. And it's spread over a number of properties. Each one of the properties has what we call a classification. So, some of them are more natural resource preservation. Don't touch anything. Don't go out there. We're trying to keep that land, nice and pristine. Some of them are used a little bit more heavily for outdoor recreation, bird watching, anything and everything that you could ask for. Great wildlife habitat, which, as populations grow, that becomes more and more precious around us. And so, and then even our partners with the county do a lot of ag work on that other 1,200. And so we get a ton of ranching, hay, just general farming type of mentality, where they have tenants that come out and do that on our lands as well. And so it's a nice feature to the community. It was definitely one that, I wasn't as aware of its prominence in the community when I came in here and took this position. And like I said, it's got a incredibly high level of advocacy from our community, tons of respect and appreciation for it, and that's backed up through continuing ballot measures to increase funding to do preservation and maintenance and that kind of thing, and acquisition. And so it's pretty cool, unique part of a little community like ours.
Yeah, and a little known fact that Colorado is quite a substantial cattle industry, and my buddy over there that raises cows, he's like, we've got the happiest cows on the planet because they get the most beautiful view.
Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you what, it's not a shameless plug, but if anybody wants to go search for me on LinkedIn, my background picture, we do some regenerative agriculture on some of our properties and put some goats and cows out a couple times.
Really? Tell me more about that regenerative agriculture. Do y'all do that in you personally, or?
Yeah, we contracted out, but it was something that came out of actually a terrible kind of offset of the Marshall Fire that came through here that we haven't touched on yet. But we lost hundreds of homes in that Marshall Fire over 3 years ago now. That kind of ripped through, and it came through a few of our open spaces, and really brought a lot of attention to seeing if there's a way that we could, get healthier soil, ways that we can control what we're calling fuels mitigation and reduction of future risk for that kind of thing. And so there's this balance of using livestock to reduce fuels. They go out and eat, right? But at the same time, depending on what kind of livestock you're using and what you're doing with them, they're really beneficial to your soil quality, which obviously leads to better plants, more robust plants that are going to stay in there and be a little more fire resistant if we ever had to deal with that again. But it also helps with reintroduction of native vegetation and getting invasive grasses or invasive weeds out of the way. So it's this kind of this great effect. But we've been doing it now for about 3 years, incredibly successful. We've got a great partnership with our local cattle provider, so it's a win-win for them. They're looking for a place for their cattle to come out and graze for a few weeks. We've got goat providers that, as it gets more and more popular, we get more and more herds of goats in the area. But it's amazing the science behind it, because they can give you a goat to they come in, they do woody cleanup. So it's primarily goats that like to eat sticks and trees, and they climb, and they're not as worried about getting the vegetation down. You got some others that'll eat specific, invasive weeds and grasses and that kind of thing if you want to get rid of that. And so
Yeah.
it's a gamut, but it's a wild program. It's been incredibly successful for us. And it's been wonderful for our natural resources staff, because they've got another tool in the toolbox as they either try to preserve or restore that amount of acreage that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and those goats make great employees. I've got a few Parks and Rec departments that actually use them to maintain their graveyards and some of their other green
Sure,
spaces.
they are constant, and they insatiable appetite to do their jobs, and they're also really cute, and they're fun to watch, and they do really quirky stuff. And so, I think that's a byproduct that they don't even know is that they're pretty precious. The cows are great too. They're just not quite as quirky.
Yeah, and they don't have any paid holidays. They're working every day, 24/7.
Yeah. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. That's right.
That's right. Well, we're at the halfway point. Let me go ahead and play a little promotion. Let's see. What do you want to hear? The Facilities Maintenance Show or the Young Professionals Network Show? I'll let you choose.
Let's do that facilities maintenance.
All right, here we go. Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, where we highlight the essential work that keeps our parks and facilities thriving. From local ball fields to multi-use athletic complexes, field maintenance ensures every space is safe, ready, and welcoming for play and community events. Facility maintenance is the backbone of operational excellence, ensuring that recreation centers, playgrounds, and shared spaces are functional, clean, and built to last. Behind the scenes, equipment maintenance keeps vital tools and machinery in peak condition. At the core of future forward thinking is sustainability management, integrating green practices that reduce environmental impact and enhance long-term resource stewardship. Facilities maintenance is more than routine upkeep. It's strategic, essential, and foundational to building healthy and resilient communities. This is the Daily Parks and Rec Show, honoring the professionals who keep our spaces running and our communities strong. All right. Yeah. So we do a morning show. Shout out to Joseph at City of Dallas. Had a great show this morning about all things facilities maintenance. But man, those facilities maintenance people, they keep this show rolling. It's usually about, what would you say, about half of the efforts and manpower and money spent just to maintain what you got? Is that fairly, or what would you say the percentage is?
Yeah, it's if not more. We're pretty lean by industry standards for our staffing, but yeah, we're still 60 to 70% of what we do is what we spend is in staffing and benefits. So it definitely takes an army of sorts.
Yeah. So tell me more about this fire. I'm not familiar with it. I probably should be. That was some big national event, I would imagine. What happened? When was this? Tell me more about it.
Yeah. So it was about 3.5 years ago now. So it got turned the Marshall Fire, and it had a couple different starting points, but I think it was December 30th. It was the day before New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. and one of those days with front range winds blowing, 100 miles an hour gust, and ended up getting started kind of over by the Flatirons, closer to Boulder, and unfortunately, it kind of veered off in a couple different directions and came together and went through Superior, which is just to the south of Louisville, and then up through Louisville, and it actually stopped pretty much right where I'm sitting. Kind of got right up to the rec center, and the winds were the primary culprit there. It took out thousands of homes between the two communities.
Wow.
And jumped a 6-lane highway and got over into our golf course, and did a ton of damage out on our golf course to the trees and some of our turf over there. And it pales in comparison, obviously, to all the homes that were lost. And it's been an effort. We're about 80% rebuilt now in our community. And it's been a real community effort and of resilience to get us back to where we are right now. But it was an awful day. Just been dry for a long time, and after really wet, got really dry, and the perfect conditions, unfortunately, for that accident to rip through here. And the next day, as luck would have it, or fate would have it, had the first snowstorm of the winter, and so came through after that and put everything out. But it was a tragic event that our community is still recovering from. It's every day, but it was definitely something that showed the resilience of our community, and really also what I've learned is it showed the value of what we do to our community, because that's the things that feel like home when you kind of lose everything are your favorite trail, your favorite park, having the opportunity to have some of that serenity to get out in nature, come to the recreation center and take advantage of the services that are offered here. So running on 3.5 years since that, though.
Yeah. Now, what were some of the now this was a day-long fire. How long did it last? How many acres did it burn? And maybe what burnt? Was it mostly trees, underbrush, grass fields, or
it was a pretty much full day event. I believe started mid-morning and went all the way through the evening, and burned thousands and thousands of acres. Like I said, it started a couple miles west of where we are right now, and it was mostly the winds were the contributing factor. So it's kind of everything was burning, but then you throw into account the embers that come along with that, and it ripped through some open space lands, ripped through a lot of areas with high densities and tree canopies, and juniper bushes, all this other kind of stuff that just added fuel to the fire, if you will. And then, it's obviously the middle of December, so it's people don't have their sprinkler systems on, their landscaping, their vegetation isn't set up to be any type of fire retardant, and so just really tragic that it covered the land area that it did, and so many people lost their homes. But like I said, we're still recovering. We just actually last year we just put up a great pet memorial for over 1,000 pets were lost in the fire. Man. And so that's something we're, like I said, still recovering, but it definitely showed the level of resilience in this community.
Yeah. Any takeaways as far as what y'all could have done to I don't know if you can prevent that at all, or how you manage your urban forestry, or kind of what are you doing now as far as practices that you've implemented since then?
Yeah, I think we talk to our fire chief or any kind of fire experts. There's only so much you can do for 100-mile-an-hour gust.
Yeah,
really kind of day. But I think what it's really done, is shifted a lot of focus to what exactly we need to do in the event of what I would call a standard, or more able to be regulated type of a wildfire situation. It's kind of new science out here, this prairie grass fire kind of thing. Like the mountain towns have been talking about this kind of prevention for a long time, and it's kind of relatively new out here on the Front Range as more and more urban environments start to kind of mingle with our wild areas. And it's for us, it definitely, we've spent a ton of time and effort and energy working with our local Forest Service, our state Forest Service, working on different grants and things like that to expand our fire mitigation efforts. And we were the first agency to do wildfire risk assessment. They don't actual formal bring in the experts and the consulting firms to kind of evaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, what we could be doing different operationally to kind of evaluate. That we had some of the first scientific fire modeling to come in and kind of show us where our high risk areas are around our community. And it's led to a number of changes. That's, like I said, that's where we instituted the Regenerative Ag program to try to increase our soil quality while also reducing the fuels. We've expanded some of our mowing corridors in some areas in open space that we hadn't intended to expand as far as we did, but it creates a substantial break and gives firefighters gives homeowners the chance to get out of their homes before anything tragic would happen. And all of that, it's a whole host of things. We've also brought in a few new positions in our community to try to help with community engagement and education, and working with our local county to disaster emergency management folks, and having a seat at that table as we kind of work through best steps, home hardening, code development, all that kind of stuff. What we're able to do as municipal employees to try to set our community up in the future for as much success as we possibly could have in the event something like that would happen again.
Now, do y'all have any urban forestry department inside of your Parks and Rec department? We
sure do. Yeah, we sure do. Very, very proud of it. Very tenured city forester. Chris is his name. He's been with the city well over 20 years. Does a wonderful job of maintaining a tree canopy of over 10,000 public trees.
Oh, wow.
It's a big haul, especially for a small but mighty team. He's got a couple foresters that work under him. But yeah, they're responsible for tree management throughout the community, being a resource for private homeowners on ways to manage their trees effectively. Out here, a hot button topic for us is the emerald ash borer. So we have thousands of ash trees throughout the community that have been planted, for decades. And this is an invasive species that comes in and basically kills the trees. And so they die quicker than we can get them out sometimes. And so, we're in a real big transition right now of, getting the emerald ash borer infected ash trees, or even proactively in some cases getting ash trees that are in the path of that particular infestation out of our system and replaced with a really diverse group of robust trees that are going to provide nice canopy and also provide maybe less risk for any kind of disease or anything like that. So yeah. Great program.
Yeah, well, if Chris is open to it, I'd love to have him on the show. We're threatening to start a weekly or monthly urban forestry show as part of the Daily Parks and Rec show, because it really is quite a unique skill set. That's it takes years to master, and there's a whole tree culture that is inside.
There is, yeah, for sure. And he's like I said, he's done this for a real long time, and he'll talk to you about trees for as long as you want to talk to him about trees. He's a really smart guy and has a lot of working knowledge of what we're trying to do out here. So
yeah, definitely. I have to get his contact from you, because that would be a good show. So tell me more about this. A couple of things I wanted to go over. 32 miles of trails. I know here in Baton Rouge, our trails are like in the park. It's a little loop, and that's the end of the trail. But it seems like, especially in Colorado, trails are a whole different animal when it comes to part of your Parks and Rec department.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like we keep going back to the town of this size, but it's closing in on the same number of miles of trails that I had when I worked in Henderson, Nevada, and that's a community of 350,000 people with one of the state of the art, top Parks and Rec agencies in the country. And this community is just, and they can't get enough. We're going through a trails master planning process right now to see where future connections and future expansion could be. And I think to your point, it's a combination of regional connectors and regional partners and these huge, like Superior, if you look at a map, Superior all the way to Erie, kind of trails with our Cold Creek Trail, and we do a lot of connectors into Boulder, and mixed with your standard loop trails. A lot of our open spaces, they'll have the ability to kind of come and go, intersect throughout the property. But it's also a host of just interests and uses for those trails. It's not There's, we have 4 or 5 different surfacing materials depending on what you're trying to do. So we do have your standard concrete connectors. We got the 8 foot, the 12 foot. Then you got your what we affectionately call social trails that have been created, and they're kind of a controversial topic, but it's people getting where they want to get to without using the trails that we've put in place to get there. But we have a little bit of everything. There's people that love it for jogging and hiking and recreational biking, all the way up to competitive mountain biking, that kind of stuff. And so we got a little bit of everything. You're right, and the majority of that 32 miles goes through our open spaces at one point in time or another. But our parks department definitely still has some level of responsibility. But the big thing with us is we're responsible for snow removal as well. So we got over 30 miles of snow removal to do
on the trails.
Yeah. Any of our hard surface trails or concrete trails, they all get plowed within 24 hours. So it's a pretty big maintenance lift that we take a lot of pride in. And we also parks and rec kind of tend to be the yes, whatever you need kind of group. And we do a ton of snow removal through our corridors and our sidewalks and our right of ways, all kinds of stuff. So shout out, and our golf course staff is involved in that process. So golf, parks, open space, it's a team effort every time we get a snowstorm out here.
Yeah. So maybe explain to those that don't know as much about trails, how do you define a trail? And then I know back in the day, it was like you walked on a trail, and maybe if you were more advanced, you had a bicycle on the trail. But today there's like everything is electrified with the mono wheel, the bicycles are electrified, and you get to super hot top speeds on these things. What do y'all allow, and what are kind of the issues you're facing with all this?
Yeah. It's a great question. It is, and it's especially out here on the Front Range, it's an incredibly popular topic right now. Is more where people look to get outside and look to be connected and look to move away from using especially gas powered vehicles out here. I think TBD exactly what a technical definition of that trail is going to be. That's going to be a component of this trails master plan that we're doing. But typically it's what we can find it is any type of connecting. Connection that we designate as intended to be a connection from one place to another, whether that's individual neighborhoods or it's park to park, or, we have a lake to lake trail that's actually connecting, goes all the way to the community and connects 2 different lakes. And so, I think for us, it's anything that we maintain, anything that we've put in a specific place for specific purpose to get people access to locations. But you're right. It is a growing challenge with the way that the trails are used, especially with the introduction relatively recently over the last couple of years of e-bikes in particular. We actually just tonight, that's a popular topic on our city council meeting agenda tonight, as we discuss kind of how we're going to regulate and maintain e-bike access on our trail system and throughout the community as a whole. With us, we allow e-bikes on our trail system, class 1s and class 2s. So, they can go up to, into the 20s miles an hour. We have, etiquette signage placed throughout, slow zones to try to get people to understand when they're coming up on curves, that kind of thing. And, we do our best to keep an eye on that. And we have 2 rangers, small ranger program that are available to, come out and assist if there is any type of a behavior issue or whatever else. But, for the most part, we have a really strong etiquette community that has a lot of respect for our trail users, and it's a share the trail for sure, between them and standard bicycles and our joggers and walkers, and very pet friendly community. So, we're also balancing all of that with people walking their dogs and that kind of thing. So,
yeah. Now, I've never heard that class 1, class 2. What's a class 3? Like, can you define that a little bit?
I'll do my best. If anybody's watching and wants to watch the city council meeting tonight, our police chief will do a better job than I do. It's basically just, my understanding is just the amount of kilowatts that go into the bike to allow a certain maximum speed. And so, you get your class 1s are going to be your, put around kind of trolling motors of the e-bike world, more pedal heavy. It's just kind of meant to be a confluence for you to get around town. Class 2s are going to be a little bit faster. Again, still pedal. That's a big thing for us, is that they still have to have pedal so that they can engage the manual use if they need to. And they'll get up. My understanding is anywhere from 20 to 30 miles an hour. And then class 3 is more, you're moving, and it's more meant for longer term connections. Take you from one point A to point B. That's a little bit different than just cruising around your local neighborhood trail. And so that's my best definition for the different classes.
When I'm around New Orleans, I'm in and out of there a lot, probably 3 or 4 times a week, and there's this fat wheel that's almost like 8 inches wide, and it's a single wheel skateboard, and them suckers will go like 40, 50 miles or 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And there'll be a guy like in a full suit with a backpack.
We did. Yeah. Listen, man, we did kind of in preparation for the discussion, because e-bikes is the title. You're spot on, but it's so many other ways of being, ways of conveyance that are electrified these days. And so one of our rangers put together this great kind of one pager of, there's like 12 different things on there that people can use to kind of cruise around that outside of an e-bike. And one of them is whatever that one wheel thing is that I would kill myself on.
Right. I was there's people still alive. There should be like graveyards on side the road.
I can't even do like my kids like 2-wheeled scooter thing without feeling like I'm about to break my neck. So more power to those balance skilled users. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really is. All right. So, God, I can't believe our show's flying by. I wanted to hear more about your golf course, because you have, did I hear you right? You said 40,000 rounds a year.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're able to fit that in. It's a crown jewel of our community. I love our golf course, Cold Creek Golf Course. Last year it was voted by Golf Pass, which is the NBC tee time booking app, as the top public course in the state. And the primary driver behind that was affordability, but even more so than that was the uniqueness of this course. It's we just found out a couple weeks ago that we're going to receive Audubon certification and designation from the Audubon Society.
And what is that? I've never the Audubon Society.
We'll call it the aviary advocates. They are the National Society that really regulates the treatment and the habitat and the preservation and the care for birds. And that's their focus. And so to have a golf course where, a lot of times golf courses get a bad rap as being kind of environmentally unfriendly, put forth, what's been about a 5-year process now to gain that designation and to make sure that, we're maintaining our course in a way that has plenty of habitat options and, limits our pesticide use as much as we can, and is really bird friendly, is a huge win for our maintenance team out there. It's just a beautiful course. It's really native and natural in the way that it looks and feels and plays. It's a shot shaping course. It's not a get out and bomb it kind of course, and which means I lose a lot of balls when I go out there and I play. That's not my game, but it is. It's incredibly popular. We have the largest junior golf program in the state, 5th largest PGA junior program in the entire country.
And what is that? Maybe describe the junior program. How does the off?
It's basically the introduction to golf program through the PGA, where you go through them, you do a sign up, and you provide a camp for them, and they come in and these kids get access to the game of golf all the way from introductory level up through the ability to compete in tournaments and play some competitive golf and really learn the etiquette and the rules and of how to play the game. And for all the kudos that goes to the instructors that we have out there, and we're fortunate enough to have some great ones, and our little course in our little town, but just incredibly popular, and it's still growing. There's still demand for it. And so we're the goal of that is to teach them the game, teach them to love Cold Creek Golf Course. And then when they get grown up and they want to find a place to play and they're still in the area, that this is where they're going to be sending their kids. So it's a great program.
So a safe assumption that you have a great golf course. What's that title? Golf course manager? That kind of
we have we've got a general manager, brand new. Shout out Mark Jensen if he's watching this. Just been in the role a little over probably a couple months now, and he oversees both sides of our house, maintenance and our pro shop ops. And our golf course superintendent David Dean is sports turf manager of the year award winner to him, and his agronomy expertise and his ability to run a golf course is second to none. He does a great job out there. And so In addition to all that, the staff is great, but people still want to play. And so our range is packed. We're doing 40,000 rounds a year, if not more, going into this year. Incredibly popular. Like most golf courses after COVID, it's, we're still experiencing that golf boom that came with that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, shout out to David and Chris. I'm probably going to be hitting y'all up to come on to our facilities maintenance show because I really want to do more content on golf course management, sports turf, management.
Yeah, and it'd be a great topic because it's like I said, we're sunshine 300 days out of the year. There's some parts of our area that are an arid desert of sorts. We get very little rain, and so these guys do a lot with little to really make sure that we're staying green and clean, as they say out there. So
yeah, love it. Okay, so as we're coming towards the end of the show, I traditionally ask a question as if you were sitting in front of a group of college kids yet undecided with what they're going to do with their life and career. Can you give a quick sales pitch to the industry of why they may want to dedicate their life to the Parks and Rec industry?
Yeah, I think my sales pitch would first be that there's no singular, the list of what you could get into and what you could do and what your interest can be is never ending. It is, and I mean that, like, it's because it's constantly evolving, and so the profession is incredibly wide ranging. There's something for everybody. There's back of the house administrative accounting types. There's engineering and park planning types, and then there's operators and programmers like anybody else. That it's the world's your oyster if you come into our profession. In addition to that, that means that you get the ability to be a public servant and just a litany of ways and come in and have impacts and positive influences on people's lives. You get to be a leader. We're typically the biggest department in a community with part-time employees. And so you're back to you're the first job. You get to kind of set the standard for what the work environment is going to be like for these young adults as they progress through adulthood. And so it's really just looking for a rewarding profession that is getting more and more credibility as a level of essentialness in our community as we go forward here. And that's every day is different, and every day is going to give you new challenges and new successes and new things to get excited about. Some days it's going to be new things to be frustrated about, and you get to live and learn from that. And so I just think the word I would say is the diversity of what you get to do and how you get to do it. Second to none in a lot of professions. And so,
yeah, love that. That was a good one. Okay. So last tradition we have is someone left you a question. Our guest previously this is from Karen O'Donnell in Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
Oh, I love Karen O'Donnell. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she was matter of fact, she left after the show to go on some horse ranch, like never done before, ride horses with her dog. And
I saw that. She took her dog up to Wyoming to get away from the fireworks.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that went. Hopefully we can get some good pictures from that. But her question to you is, what is one of the funny stories that has happened to you in your career?
Oh my gosh. That I could share on this podcast.
Right. I think we're going to create a comic book series on our newsletter of all the stuff that y'all encounter.
So I'll give you one because I've used it before in some conference sessions that I've done. But it was a lesson, and I had this boss, and I don't know if he was intending the quote to be as positive of a spin as I've put on it. But the quote was, "You get what you inspect, not what you expect." And so
nice.
I think he may have been a little micromanaging with that. But I think that the moral of that story is follow up on, anything that you've delegated, and don't make assumptions, and get out and about is the gist. So early in my career, I was up in Plainfield, and miscommunication with the supervisor that we had closing our outdoor pool. This was before the days of, maybe not before, but we didn't have an autofill, which is basically the ability, to the pool height to depth to be regulated via a valve that opens and closes automatically. We actually had to do it manually. And so we had our maintenance, part-time maintenance guy, and he went out and turned on the autofill or the manual fill. And he came back in, and I said, "You turn it on?" He said, "Yeah, it's all good." And I said, "Okay, we only need like 6 inches." He said, "Great." Somewhere in there, he thought that I was saying I was going to stick around until that happened. So he left. And I was opening the next morning and came back in. It's a 5-acre water park and at about 2 inches of water, the entire 5 acres.
Wow.
That fill had stayed on hundreds of thousands of millions of gallons of water, cold water, because nobody turned it off and just sat there all night. He left. I thought he was going to do it, and I never went out to check before I left to see if it was still on. So it was this whole thing. At the moment, it was not that funny. It was like, oh no, and it was a Saturday, and so we didn't shut it off real quick. Then you got to turn on the backflow and get all the water drained out of there. And water temperature took 2 or 3 days to heat back up, so we had to close on a busy Saturday in the summer. And learning lesson for me. But when you want to talk about like jaw dropping, gut punched, when I walked in at 7 o'clock in the morning to see my entire pool deck looking like a lake.
Oh my gosh.
That was pretty wild. And so that'd be one for sure.
Yeah. That reminds me of that whole trust but verify quote.
Yeah. That's another way of saying that. That's right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Did I hear you right? A 5-acre water park?
Yeah. 5-acre water park. So you do the math on it filled the pool that we were filling and then overflowed all the way into all the other pools and all over the deck. The poor landscaping, the wood mulch was everywhere. It's just
fun.
Just a hot mess. But yeah.
All right. So what question do you want to leave for our next victim, tomorrow's guest?
Ooh, I'll say, listen, you know what I'd love to hear? We focus so much, and this is maybe a message for the people watching this. We focus so much on the challenges that we face and, issues that we're dealing with and budget shortfalls and the public that we consider to be difficult or ever-changing directions from elected officials, whatever. Our human nature is that we tend to focus on the negative more often than the positive. So I'd like to know what your next guest, what their proudest accomplishment that they've had in their career is, and either what they have had or what they foresee in the future is going to be something that they would be striving for as what they would consider a career-defining professional accomplishment.
I love it. Their career. Okay. I'm going to send that out to our next guest. Well, excellent. Adam, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. We covered so much ground. I thought there was no way we're getting through this.
Man, we could go for like 4 hours, man. That was awesome. There's so many things we didn't even touch on. So I appreciate the time and the ability to kind of promote and talk about Colorado Parks and Rec. Just really.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had something here about your wife, Community Service District, Katie podcast. Podcast, or what's going on there?
She does. Am I allowed to say that on this podcast?
Sure, absolutely.
Is this all one podcast family? Yeah. So
that's it.
Katie Groke. She's my lovely wife. We're a Parks and Rec family. She's director of community services for Apex Recreation and Park District, one of the biggest park districts in our state, just south of me. And Apex Activated. They do a wonderful, real professional podcast that covers a whole host of topics. Very, very little Parks and Rec gets worked into a lot of their social discussions, and it's just a good listen if you're up to it. But her and her right hand Monica, they do a great job. So
I'd love to have them on the show just to help promote their podcast. And
they'd be a ball of energy. I'll tell you that. They're fun when you get them together. I'll pass it on.
All right. Well, if you'll help me do the connection part, I would love to have them on the show to try to get them as much followers as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll pass that along. That's cool.
Fantastic. Well, Adam, thank you so much for everything you do for the community and for Parks and Rec in general. Great example of what can be done in this career, and I really appreciate all that you do.
Appreciate you, Craig. Thanks for everything you're doing with this podcast and for our profession, man. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Love it, man. We'll keep going.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye. All right. Another great Park and Rec director, Adam Blackmore over in Louisville, Colorado. Covered a lot there. Just goes to show you, I love his testimony. Sales pitched for the industry is all the things that you can get into when it comes to Park and Rec. It's not just about, sports or even aquatics. Those are, big things, but even like golf courses or urban forestry or like his wife making a podcast for the industry. And I'm definitely going to hit up David and potentially Mark and Chris to come on the facilities maintenance show so we can talk about turf management, urban forestry, golf course management. I think those are all super great topics that we need to just go deeper on for the show. So anyway, appreciate you, Adam. Appreciate everybody that tuned in today. Love what we're doing. Thank you all for the love and support. Don't forget to sign up for our new newsletter. We are sending out emails right now to bring people on now that we've got up to week 5. We're still kind of dialing it in. So everyone that's got it so far, that we've asked them to just kind of make recommendations as far as what they want the newsletter to be about, what kind of articles we want. So if you've written an article for a newsletter, please hit me up or Sherry on LinkedIn, and we'd love to have y'all highlight your article in our weekly newsletter, which is growing pretty substantially. But anyway, thank y'all again. This is Craig LeBlanc, the Doorman, with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series every Monday through Thursday, 12 noon Eastern. And we'll see y'all here again tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.